I remember when I was like hanging over the rafters and it was like 3 stories up. And I was like, I'm kind of scared. Like, even though I was like in a full harness, I was totally safe, everything was fine. I was like, are you sure this is going to be able to hold me up? Well, what happens if, I was like, oh. It's like as you get closer to like the idea of mortality meaning something to you, you are just more fearful of everything. My name is Jessica Alba, and this is my life in photos. Well, that's a throwback. This is my mom, Kathy Alba, with her giant mane of blonde hair. And looks like I'm using as much Aquanet in my hair as my mother. My bang game is really on another level. So when I was younger, I was sick a lot, in and out of the hospital with asthma, allergies, complications with that, along with like cysts and my tonsils, and I had cysts on my ovaries, and I had issues with my kidneys. Like I had a lot of stuff going on. And my mom was such an advocate. It's interesting. I remember her just not like believing the doctors or like telling them like, this is what my daughter needs, like she would be like, no, she needs this and she does this and da da da. She was always like such a go-getter and kind of like a rule breaker. Not that like there's anything wrong with rules, but like it's almost like rules are meant to be broken, because a lot of these systems and rules didn't always like have maybe us in mind. And so she always kind of found a way around rules. And so that very much had an influence on me and how I live my life, for sure. This is the second season, I believe, of Dark Angel. Max was my character, and I remember the leather pants were custom, the jacket was custom, everything like fit like a glove. There were like stretchy panels in the back because I was doing all this action, and I said, with all of this, I got to be able to move. I remember they were so low though, and when I bent over them, I would like, it definitely showed my crack, and so I had to like make a panel like higher in the back so like it wasn't vulgar. And also when I was bending over to like go on the motorcycle, I had to like add a panel in the back. But that was the trend back then, I don't know if it'll ever come back, but that was the trend, low waist pants. Yeah, look at her. Cash Warren, mustache game strong. I mean, he did kind of like go through a phase where he had like a goatee. That's so funny. This may have been Cash's apartment. We used to like freeze out his roommate because we needed the air conditioning to be on and like cold. And his roommate was like, all the air just went into his room and he would be so mad. I'm not sure why he's holding a sword. I think someone gifted me a samurai sword. I think that's what that is. I believe it's still, like Cash still has it and we have it by the bed. Because, just in case, I'm like, you don't even know how to use a samurai sword, Cash. I know how to use a samurai sword. It may still be by the bed. We always kind of felt like family. I think that's what was so different about him compared to like other guys that we hung out with. So it was like easy to be around each other. We did go through like a hard time with me acting and him not really loving that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to like kiss guys and it's just part of my job. And I understand, like that would ignite jealousy in anyone. But he's so cool and calm and collected, like you just wouldn't expect that from Cash. He has like more of a chill Buddha kind of vibe. But yeah, he would get pretty aggro about that. Oh, that's honor in my belly. It was the second time I presented at the Oscars. I wore a Marchesa dress, custom dress, obviously, because I was very pregnant. But I remember, like, the second I got off stage, I was like, Cash, can we just go home and get In-N-Out on the way home? I was like, I just want my sweats and In-N-Out. And so we left and immediately went to In-N-Out and skipped all the after parties. I remember being grateful for Spanx. That was holding in, because it was like, I remember the heaviness of the belly just being on your feet for so long. But I did feel beautiful, and I feel like this time in my life, because my body changed so much, and sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming, like an alien takeover when you're pregnant. I was like, what is this thing growing? What's going on with myself, my hormones? And I remember it felt nice to feel pretty, because I didn't feel awesome. I appreciated getting dolled up this night. This is me reading with my daughter, Honor. Oh my gosh, she looks so much like Cash. She still looks like Cash. Everyone says she looks like me. This fool looks exactly like her dad. But her dad and I might look similar or something. But she's just like baby Cash. I have to say, like, reading those books to your kids early on, it like opens their mind up to this whole world. Hayes loves story time. He has these books where these crayons basically write letters to the little boy who they belong to. And I do different voices for each color crayon. And he loves when I do the voices, except for when I do too serious. He's like, not the serious one, Mom. Can you do another type of voice? But he likes me doing all the silly accents and voices for all the different crayon colors. Oh my goodness, this is wild. Launch of The Honest Company in New York. We did our launch party at ABC Kitchen back in the day before influencers. They were called mommy bloggers. They were like the OGs. Influencers. And we had an event where we invited them, and it was like they said one of the first events where we also allowed them to bring their kids or their babies. And they were grateful because a lot of them are working moms or single moms, or they just don't have help. And so I remember a few of them had like their baby strapped to them. We just made it easy, even if you were pregnant, for you to be there. And they were like, oh, thank you for having comfortable things for us. And thank you for having, drinks that we could actually drink, and da-da-da. So much heartache on the way, thinking it would never get done. And then finally making it to this point. To be honest, we launched with a beta website. And so we were afraid it was going to crash. And it may or may not have gone down a few times. And the first month and a half of orders, we didn't charge people's credit cards, but we sent them products. And so we had to literally call and say, hey, we're so sorry we sent you the product, but we didn't charge your credit card. Can we charge your credit card now? We were just new. We were brand new. We didn't know. And I remember being really nervous, is this gonna work? That not knowing, and now when you look back, you're like, you have the advantage of the history of it, but in the beginning, you're so scared. This is, okay, so it was during COVID and our friends were over, and it was kind of like they were about to have a baby, and he was like, Honor's taller than you, my friend. And I was like, no, she's not. And he was like, yes, she is. And then he was like, stand back to back. And he took this photo, and I just started crying. I remember oh my God, you're taller than me. It was like, I'm getting teary just thinking of it. It was so horrible because it's like, this is my baby. How is she taller than me? That was a tough pill to swallow, but now she's 5'9.5". So now she's a lot taller than me. Now she puts her elbow on my shoulder, and she's like, hey Mom. And I'm like, don't do that. I'm still your boss. I'm in charge of you, kid. It sucks. It's great, but it sucks. You don't really understand time until you watch a little person go from being just a blob who can't talk or do anything useful except for just look cute. And then when they grow up to be people with opinions that tell you, oh no, Mom, you cannot plan my 16th birthday. What do you mean? I birthed you. This is my birthday too. This is them. They are very grown. This was the Taylor Swift concert. I remember doing the Bad Blood video with Taylor when my girls were little, because I was like, oh, she's going to be touring, and I'll be able to take them to her concert. That'll be so cool. Maybe we can go backstage and they can meet her, and that would be fun for them and their friends. When they were little girls. It was wild to see them at this age literally know every song from every era. They did not sit down. They're like, we're not Swifties. These girls in the car on the way there, literally the car was on level 100, the volume. They screamed every word to every song from her first album all the way through. I was like, this is the definition of a Swiftie. They were like, no, the Swifties are even more intense than us. I was like, but you know every word to every song. This is incredible. And then we went to the show and they literally didn't sit down. It was really sweet. But I remember thinking Honor looked really grown. And I was upset with that one. I mean, they both did. Dads love Taylor Swift. They can appreciate that she's a great songwriter and they're catchy songs. Like, how can you not? She's super talented, man. Oh, this is me shooting a scene on the set of Trigger Warning. And this is one of the more iconic action sequences in the movie. This is my family's bar, and this local gang is trashing it. I was getting hung from the rafters. It's funny because when I was younger and I was doing Dark Angel, I mean, they hung me from many stories up. Like, I was at the top of buildings, looking over edges. My character was not afraid of heights. So I blocked that out of my head. I wish I still had that fearlessness. For so long, I feel like in my career, I was like paid to be fit. I felt like every role had like some element of having to like be fit and fitness. And when I kind of stopped and put my focus into business for a long time, which was around the time that I became a mom, I put that on the back burner. But when I had to train for Trigger Warning, that was a rude awakening. I was like, oh, right, 2-a-days. This is brutal. Doing the fight training, I was rusty, but I picked it up pretty quickly, but I was still not as quick as I used to be. This is, I see me standing in my power and in my element. I love being on set. It's where I feel most at home. I didn't know I would be good at business until I was thrown into it. But business was a lot like flying a plane and fixing it and learning how to fly all at the same time. You know, it took a lot out of me. It was very draining. And I would say in Hollywood, in this business, like, it just feels good. I feel really, I just feel like I'm at home. And I feel most comfortable in my own skin. I see for the future, I hope, more of these moments.